Hey, everybody. Welcome back to Inspired Action Life Podcast. I'm your host, Karen Baldridge. And today I have a very special guest for me. I've got a little history with my friend over here. This is Chris Leidli. And currently, you will know him as the SVP of Advanced Medical Solutions for Veracity Science. That is a mouthful. We're going to let him fill in the blanks there. But I knew him back in college days, and he just happens to be married to one of my very dearest friends. And he's doing some big things. And so the reason I'm bringing him on here, it's new year, new things, new ideas are coming to light. And Chris is one of the people leading the charge. And I really thought it was important and inspirational to get his story on here of how he jumped from what would normally just be a very good living and a very good career path in the pharma industry. But still, there was something inside of him intrinsically that said, there's another level. I think we can go to another level here. And you know that those are my favorite types of stories. So I just had to dig in and get to the bottom of this. So before I butcher any of his resume, I'm going to kind of throw it over to Chris and get busy talking and get the story and the come up. We want to know what was the inspiration to do this and what he's doing now and how he acted on it. So without further ado, I'm going to throw it over to Chris. Good morning, Chris. Bright and early for you. How are you?
I'm well, Karen. Thank you. And thank you for the invite and to join your show and talk a bit about the journey. I'm super motivated to start the new year. I've spent most of last year kind of preparing for this moment to really launch a couple of new initiatives. And as you mentioned, I've joined Veracity Sciences to lead their advanced medicines solutions practice, serving clients that are developing novel therapies like cell and gene therapies, as an example. So really excited about what the year has in store.
Yeah, that's very cutting edge. And I can't wait to kind of dig in, because while our listeners don't know all of it, I might know a little bit about how you came to this. But can you kind of take us back? Since my podcast, when I interview people, I always like to get the come up story from Success Leaves Clues, because I do believe that success does leave clues. So when you're most successful, it's because intrinsically there was something in you that was always able to do that with ease, so to speak. So take us back a little bit about what your come up story was when you were like picking a career. Did you know, like, hey, science is my bag? Or what was it that led you? Or were you always a builder or a science guy making experiments and stuff? What was your story there? And how did you get here?
Yeah. Well, going back early in my career, Karen, I was a graduate level scientist. I was working in the labs at Amgen. So, I moved to Thousand Oaks, California, grew up in the Midwest and moved to California. And so that was already a big transition. Yeah. At that time, Amgen was one of the premier biotech companies, was growing rapidly, and I was really excited to be a part of what was then very transformational for the industry and developing the first biologic therapies for patients with cancer and anemia related to kidney disease. So I started out as a science guy, Karen. You're exactly right, and I was just so hungry when I got to Amgen to learn as much as I could about the industry. So I was already very driven, very hungry. It was such an exciting place to work. And then one of the first big pivots was sort of moving out of the science realm into more of the commercial and business side, which was, for many people, that's a difficult transition. So, for your listeners, I know many people who are technically oriented and want to move to the business side. It can be challenging for someone who's, a scientist to do that.
Right. Oh, without a doubt. That's not a general career path or personality trait, you would say, just stereotypically, that would be able to flex between the two.
Yeah, no, it wasn't easy. And I navigated my way through project management roles and finance, and kind of over into clinical development, and then eventually over into sales and marketing. So yeah, I
Wow.
touched a lot of the functions of a company in doing that, and I learned a lot. And over the years, as I moved, then I moved beyond Amgen to other companies in the pharmaceutical and biotech space.
Okay, so I've got a question.
Hmm.
So, in knowing that you, and I'll stop you intermittently because I've all my mind never shuts off. So, like when you're switching around from very different roles that you're playing, all in the pharma industry, what was it that was driving you? Did you see opportunities, or did you want to try something else? Do I see a pattern here with you? Like my mind just wants to know all of it, or hey, I'm bored, or what? What was it? Why did you do it? Why did you switch so much?
Well, you know what always excited me, Karen, when I saw the business side was I really wanted to be in marketing and be someone who was bringing new products, innovative new products to patients. So to do that in a pharmaceutical or biotech company, you really had to be a launch leader or a marketing leader
Yeah.
as the sort of the quarterback leading the company, leading the brand through its development and commercialization.
Correct. Okay. So again, I just want to point out there that you kind of already, again, maybe didn't sit down and think, well, I want to start in marketing so I can launch it. It's something that you knew as you went along in your path. And that's what I love, because there is no accidents in the universe, right? So you learned all these things, never knowing what that would mean to the position that you hold right now. You understand, it's like we live our lives, we understand that we make these pivots, but they all seem to come together for a reason, but we don't always see the reason as we are making those pivots and decisions. We don't always see, but I love already that your story has so many pivots, because most people will think, oh, it's like this. No, it's kind of like this. Our paths
Right,
kind
right,
of go up, 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 oh,
right.
down here, back up again. So when you finally got to the marketing space and you're, positioning this product, tell me where did you go from there? And then when did you finally make this kind of decision like, I feel like, okay, I've conquered this space, but now what is next? Go.
Yeah. Well, first of all, you're exactly right. And I think sometimes in life, some of the opportunities came up opportunistically, so they found me.
Mm-hmm.
But in many cases, like I wouldn't say, and it's easy to look backwards now in time and say, there was some master plan. But I would say we can break down, I think, your career into sort of early career and sort of later in career as a professional who's already got some experience under the belt.
Mm-hmm.
I think early career, you're just looking to secure skills and gain experiences. And so I think that's where my focus was early in my career.
Right.
And then as I had worked then with several different pharma companies, and I feel like I had already, worked on several different launches, and most of my time I've spent in specialty medicines and in immune disease research and immune products and oncology products.
Mm-hmm.
I realized that I was looking for something more at that point. So as my career emerged or evolved, Karen,
Mm-hmm.
I think that my mindset started to change, and I started to think about how can I take this experience, this breadth of experience that I have, having worked at multiple companies on multiple launches in
Mm-hmm.
different therapy areas,
Mm-hmm.
and I also, how can I deploy that in a way that where I can add more value? And like now I'm at the point where I want to do something bigger to help help mankind, if you will. Like I want to make a bigger impact, leave a bigger legacy, and so that's what's kind of led me down this path of advanced therapies. We're at the cusp of using our bodies as our own bioreactors. So our bodies
Mm.
have the power to heal ourselves through cell therapies and gene therapies.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Okay, you're up. You're singing my song. Love all of this. Of course, I would just be the person who would consume the knowledge that you're creating. I would not be the person who could come up with it, but I'm the person who appreciates and consumes that type of information and really internalizes it. So, okay, so now we're at the part that, again, is the pivotal part where you're going, okay, I'm doing this for other companies. They've got their set career, or they've got their set path for their product line. They know exactly what they want it to do, where they want it to go, whatever, but I see an opportunity. Now you join the ranks with the other, like kind of corporate expatriates like myself who go, okay, so I want to have something with purpose. I feel like I can learn what I can take what I've learned from these companies who've given me amazing opportunities and have set me up for success. I have fallen into a very successful career path, but now what can I do that feels full of purpose with me? So now you are at this path. What did you do? Or how did you move forward? What was the big, this is scary as you've got a family. You've got a family to support. You can't just be going flying off the handle like crazy horse, you've got to make very measured decisions. What did you do and how did you overcome these limitations or these limiting beliefs? Go on.
Yeah, I know. Well, Karen, I think 4 years ago, I went out and started my own agency, Boulder Biotech Launch Specialists, with the aim of wanting to really work with different clients in the advanced therapy space. And I had the opportunity to work with some companies that were developing new gene therapies, cell therapies, and even just some precision medicines mainly in oncology, but also in some other therapy areas outside of oncology. So I was fortunate that I was able to generate income to pay the bills.
Yes.
And I learned a lot during that experience about kind of the needs and the market needs, and also patient needs for new support for these therapies. These aren't traditional medicines. So for your listeners, cell therapies and gene therapies, are a more complicated process. They're not pills, right? They're not like the traditional pharmaceutical where you go to your doctor, get a prescription, and then obtain your pills from a pharmacy.
Right.
This is a months-long process where your cells are harvested and then genetically engineered in some cases, and then given back to you to fight whatever disease you have. So this requires a whole new ecosystem of support in terms of agencies that know this space and how to go to market. And I've also identified there were some needs to create new digital tools to connect patients to these special treatment centers that can treat patients with these therapies.
I mean, well, that's the skill set. That's what I'm talking about. Like when you know that there's something you were meant to be, who could come up with it? I mean, like you identified the need, but it is always my belief that there are downloads that come from the ethers, whatever you want to call it, from God, from whatever. But we get these downloads, but not everybody acts on them. And that's why you are different, because you have decided to say, okay, you're giving me this idea. What do I do with it? Some people will die with that idea inside them and never act. And that's why I like to talk to the people who acted, because it gives courage to other people who are receiving these downloads. But right there is an amazing, think of how much humanity prospers from what it is that you are bringing about, that aha, that idea, that, like you said, the ecosystem. How do I mean, it's good in itself, but how do I build the infrastructure to like integrate it into normal society? You know what I mean? How do I do that? And how do I get it into the hands of the people who really need it? Fundamentally, their lives could be saved by this. I mean, are you at a place where you can share what that looks like, or are you still haven't brought it completely out there, that you want to talk about it in terms of, does it look like when people do like blood cell, white blood cell transfers and things, like how they do for leukemia or lymphoma or that type of thing? Or what is it? Is it completely different?
Well, if you're, the cell and gene therapies are completely different. So for example, just to give you a little more structure around it, it's the types of therapies that have been available for the last 5 years are called CAR T cell therapies. The chimeric antigen receptor T cells. So think of them, the T cells are really the fighters in your body that help do constant surveillance, and they're looking for foreign, proteins and viruses and things in your body. So companies have decided how to, with a little help of science, a little help of genetic engineering, to supercharge these T cells. And the way they do that now is they do a blood collection, and they isolate your T cells from blood. And then they send them to a manufacturing facility where they harvest them and do a little bit of genetic manipulation, and then expand those cells into the billions, and then infuse them back into the patient in an hour or two. with remarkable results in many types of blood cancers. And we're starting to see that expand now into solid tumors and even outside of oncology in some spaces like ophthalmology with eye diseases and also immune diseases for patients with lupus and other immune diseases. So we just saw our first 2 gene therapies approved for sickle cell disease by the FDA in December. So we're seeing these therapies going into diseases that are in much larger populations. So that gives you a taste, Karen, of the potential here and how these therapies work and how they're being utilized.
That is, I mean, absolutely mind blowing. And what I am curious though is, does the typical pharmaceutical industry, do they embrace you? Do they know you exist, or do they pretend you're not there? I mean, I'm just wondering, because that's again, another word that comes up with entrepreneurship is disruption. That's very disruptive to their system. And so is this something that we can expect for them to get on the bandwagon with and be widely, consumed, or no? What do you think?
Well, we're seeing some pharmaceutical companies have definitely taken the lead in the space and have built infrastructure and are definitely are making investments in this space. I think they see the potential for the future. Because manufacturing is such a big part of this process and that it takes such a long time, I think many biotech and pharmaceutical companies are perhaps a little bit more reluctant to dive in because of it's a massive resource investment to get ready to commercialize products like this, Karen. I mean, it's much easier to develop these small molecules that medicinal chemists come up with in a lab and then punch them into pills and blister packs and sell them into pharmacies.
Yes.
That's the traditional pharmaceutical model. This is
Correct.
much more complex, right? The patient
Exactly.
is the healing vessel here. They were using their cells and then giving them back to them, and is what makes it so remarkable.
That is unbelievable. I mean, this is so cutting edge and just going to be so powerful once it hits because, as we know, that's like the biggest leading, maybe next rivaling with heart disease. Obviously cancers are right up there on the scare list for everybody, right? And then to know that we have the abilities, and I could go down a whole other rabbit hole, but I won't today, on the ability to heal ourselves. Okay, so this is why I love what you're doing, because I would much rather have that power put back into my hands as opposed to just cobbling along with some medicine to take away my symptoms. So this goes for the cure, not for the the symptoms. And I love it. I love what you're doing with this, and I love how you put it all together. So tell me, is there something like can you tell me just like small steps real quick of how you decided to pull together? Who were the interested parties, the key stakeholders in your idea? Who did you pull in? How did you do that? Did you go with your connections? That's something else that entrepreneurs want to know. How did you pull it all in and bring it and make it so it's out into the physical plane?
Well, Karen, that's actually such a great question, because a lot of the people that I'm working with now were never in my original network, so to speak. I'm reaching out to think about it in my typical day. I'm speaking with companies and people within cell and gene therapy companies who are not from the sort of traditional background. I'm speaking a lot with hospital treatment centers. I'm speaking because the hospital treatment center they're the ones who are actually certified and qualified to treat these patients in this very complex way. Wow. So I'm doing a lot of outreach directly to hospitals. I'm working directly with some of the pharmaceutical companies that are developing these products, for sure, helping them with their development strategies and commercialization strategies. I'm in stealth mode with a new company that's going to develop a software tool to help connect patients across America to these special hospitals that are uniquely qualified to treat them with these cell therapies and gene therapies. So, I mean, I've been doing a lot of work. I've been doing a lot of fundraising, talking to venture capitalists, angel investors, software developers, designers.
You got everybody.
That's what's so encouraging, but it's also very alarming, right? Because you got to get traction. And
Yeah.
that's, I think, what makes a lot of people afraid.
Yeah.
You're talking about why don't more people do this if they have an idea? Well, it's scary, Karen. I mean, you
Yes.
wake up and you've got to get traction. You need to get customers on board. You need to develop a prototype. And so you've got to dig deep, work hard, come up with a lot of your own financing at the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's a lot of different points along the way where you could just abandon ship and say, this is not for me. A lot of people like the security of a paycheck every 2 weeks, which
Yeah. Yeah.
is sometimes difficult
The
when you're
golden
starting.
handcuffs, right?
Yeah,
That's what
yeah,
I call them. Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Hard to let go of those, but
yeah,
well,
yeah,
that's just it. I mean, again, so it just takes that other level of I always guess that a lot of us just wait for that second download. Okay, I got this great idea, but what's the next download? How do I bring all the pieces and parts? That's overwhelming, and that's what stops the process. You are exactly right, And so I think it's cool to talk to somebody who pressed on, even though you were doing this outside of getting that everyday paycheck or that every 2 weeks paycheck, supporting your family. You almost had to use your own investment money, didn't you? I mean, you had to
yeah,
put a lot
yeah,
of your own capital
yeah, yep.
towards this big idea and really take the risk.
Take
Well,
take the risk. Yeah,
my favorite saying is fortune favors the brave. So, it is my belief that, no risk, no reward. Sometimes you got to put up or shut up with it. And so you're at that point right now where it's about ready to bust open. Even though you're in stealth mode right now, there's something big that's going to be rolling out soon. I mean, when can we expect this next big thing to roll out? The second part of your plan, or maybe the first part, whatever.
yeah. I mean, it's going to roll out at a conference at the end of February. I'm going to go public with it, but I'm already working and securing
Amazing.
pharmaceutical partners and hospital systems in my early access program. And so that's exciting. I do have people working behind the scenes, so that's all expected to roll out,
That's amazing.
at the end of February. So
Oh,
it's
I
yeah.
can't wait. I mean, I'm glad to be on the front end of this so I can just kind of watch with a front row seat and be giving you all the, hype you up. I'll be your hype man back here because I think it's amazing for several reasons, not only for you personally, because you are married to my best friend, so that supports that whole system, but you as an entrepreneur and having a success story. Nothing gets my, juices flowing more than a success story. People who take big risks and then make that crap happen. For me, that's a big deal. So I'm just excited, Chris. I'm excited for all of the things that are going to be coming your way. But before I let you go, what I need to know is where can everyone find you, find out about what you're doing? Maybe there's somebody out there who knows that they're facing a huge battle with their own a cancer diagnosis or a family's cancer diagnosis. Who can they keep an eye on in terms of your new cutting edge products that you're bringing out? Where do we find you?
Well, yeah. Thanks, Karen. I think the easiest way these days, I think everybody is on LinkedIn. They can reach me there
Okay.
at Christopher Leidli on LinkedIn. Just direct message me. I'm really responsive on LinkedIn, and I'm also on X at Chris Leidli if they want to
Oh,
DM me
okay.
there as well.
All right. All right. Well, then I'm gonna have anybody who this hits with. I'll be posting this on my social media. So any of them that are following me, which clearly they probably are, if they've ended up listening to this podcast, we'll be doing a little write up about our conversation because I think what you're doing is hugely important, not only in the space for healing and medical diagnoses that nobody wants, but also just from the resiliency of the human spirit and really kind of going in with a big idea and making it happen. So thank you for being courageous enough to do it. You might just change the whole trajectory of society, honestly.
Well, I hope to be doing some good for patients, in this year. And yeah, I want to thank you again for inviting me to be part of the show, Karen, and all the best in 2024.
Yes, it's going to rock. I can't wait. It's got good energy. This is the active energy year. So let's do this. We are aligned. I will be watching front row. Can't wait. So thanks for coming on, Chris, and let's do it. All right. Get
Thanks,
it done.
Karen.
Take
Bye.
care. Bye.